Welcome back to Newsmax Prime. As the U.S. gears up for the historic visit of Pope Francis next week, an intelligence bulletin reveals the FBI arrested a 15-year-old in the Philadelphia area last month. This unidentified boy allegedly inspired by ISIS to carry out an attack against the Pope. But as the FBI uncovered and thwarted this possible attempt on the Pope's life, how many more lone wolves are there out there? For more on this story, we're pleased to be joined by the former director of both the National Security Agency and Central Intelligence, General Michael Hayden. He joins us tonight from Newsmax Washington. As always, Mike, thanks for your time here on Newsmax Prime.
No, thank you, JD.
So the arrest of this 15-year-old in Philly, does this add to your concern about the number of people out there who might be tempted to carry out a lone wolf attack against the Pope?
Oh, it does, JD, and doesn't it fit the narrative we've been seeing? The danger coming from not particularly competent, lone wolves, self-radicalized, perhaps lonely and discontented individuals, that now they've got this narrative that they can almost reach out and hug that in some sense gives some meaning to their lives. And so, JD, let me offer you a thought. I'm glad the FBI got this kid, and the FBI, frankly, seems to have been doing very good work against these self-radicalized folks. But you know, JD, this is like a magnificent goalie trying to stop penalty kicks. And if we have to do this at this end and try to detect everyone before they step up into violent action, we are bound to fail sooner or later. I think what we've got to do is to go to the root of the problem. And one of those roots, JD, is this narrative that ISIS is an unbeatable force. And I think this is one time where the physical application of power is necessary to win the ideological fight. In other words, to point out on the ground, these guys neither represent the will of God, nor are they the hand of God, because they're being defeated.
And you talk about the display of power, and presumably it would happen in the Middle East. But before we go there, Mike, let me talk more about the here and now, or at least next week here in this country, with the Pope coming to visit. Intelligence officials, for their part, say there's no credible threat to the Pope during this visit, but you just pointed out how difficult it can be, and I guess even in the best situation, there are still blind spots in our intelligence apparatus.
No, absolutely, JD, and look, the Holy Father loves to mix it up with his flock. He is going to go into crowds of people because that's what he does. That's what he thinks his mission from God is. And so we're just going to have to do our best to detect and to disrupt any organized attempts, and then on the scene to give the Holy Father the best protection possible that we can deliver. But JD, nothing in life is guaranteed. We can't hermetically seal this prelate off from his flock.
And as he comes to America from Europe, from the Vatican, coming into Europe from the Middle East, so many refugees. Mike, how much of this influx of refugees and the problems we're now seeing in Europe is part of a failed American policy in the Middle East?
JD, let me first of all, I'm going to give you a sharp answer here in a second, but let me first of all preface that answer with, this is a hard problem, and there weren't any easy or particularly good options for us. Having said that now, JD, our inaction puts moral responsibility on us for the circumstances we now see in the Middle East. Let me ask you and your viewers a question, JD. Can you imagine it being any worse? And seriously, can you picture how this could be any worse than it is today? And then that might give you some way to think through whether or not we should have done something earlier and stronger to prevent us from being in this near catastrophic position.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. We can even apply that, General, to North Korea. Now the North Koreans are claiming they're ready to use nuclear weapons against our nation. With 45 seconds, do you take this North Korean threat seriously, or is it saber-rattling to get ready for negotiations?
It's saber-rattling. I don't know if it's ready to get ready for negotiations, JD, but it is saber-rattling. But you know, They are increasing in capability even as they make these kinds of loud noises. And so this is not one that we can totally ignore. Kim, the youngest, is a very dangerous young man.
And we will have to keep our eye on Korea, on the Middle East, and obviously in our own backyard next week with Pope Francis coming to visit here in the United States. General Michael Hayden, as always, we thank you for taking time to visit with us tonight from Newsmax Washington on Newsmax Prime. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Well, you heard what Mike had to say. Not a pretty picture. What do you have to say? Why don't you comment to me? Send it to newsmaxtv.com/comments, and we'll be back with more on Newsmax Prime.